everyone, this is Sage welcoming you all to the Executive Corner Expert Talks 20 Minutes Roundup. And today we're very lucky to have the Managing Director of Raiden Resources Limited, Dusko, with us. And we bring you industry leaders, successful business owners, market and equity advocates all under one roof to help you discover the insights of the stock markets and help you understand how one can make multiple passive income streams. So as I said, we're very lucky to have Dusko with us. And to give you some background about Raiden Resources, who Dusko is the managing director of, it is a copper gold exploration company focused on discovering large-scale copper gold, porphyry and high-grade epithermal deposits in the world-class Western Tethyan Belt in Eastern Europe, as well as major gold deposits in the emerging province of the Pilbara in Western Australia. So welcome, Dusko. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Hi, it's a pleasure meeting you as well, Sage. Thank you very much. As you said, we're an exploration company with a very large exploration portfolio of projects. We are early entrants into two major provinces, two emerging provinces, including both the Pilbara and the Western Tethyan, both of which have demonstrated capacity for world-class mineralization. And we've taken significant positions in both of these projects. We're exploring them very aggressively, and should be a very exciting year going forward.
Fantastic. Well, we won't keep the audience's suspense any longer. I'm sure they're keen to hear from you and about your projects. So let's begin. What's your view on the current gold and copper markets? And do you see either of those breaking its previous lifetime highs in the near future?
I think the market and macroeconomic fundamentals are there for this to happen for both of the commodities, whether it's in the near term or in the medium term. But I think that the question really for us explorers and developing companies are the fundamentals there to sustain not just record peak prices, but average prices long term, which make it feasible for us to plan development and exploration over a longer period of time. So if we're looking at copper, I think, yes, we will see an increase from the current price, I believe. But I think the critical thing, as I stated, is that we are going to see sustained higher average prices over the following few years. If we see a fraction of the electrification of vehicles and the move to green energy, if a fraction of this is materialized, I think we are going to need a lot more copper. We haven't been exploring as much as we have as an industry over the last probably decade. And we're seeing the fact that we simply just don't have enough of these resources. So copper has a very bright future ahead of us. And this is one of the, we've been saying since we listed, we've been saying that there's going to be a deficit of copper, So just due to the market and industry fundamentals, back even 2018, it was clear that we were going to see greater demand for copper. But with this recent events, for example, with COVID, the way global economies have, major global players have decided to put a lot of money back into the industry, and most of it's going to be towards infrastructure programs. I think it's just accelerated the problem, the fact that we haven't been exploring or finding enough. In terms of gold, again, I think due to the similar fact that a lot of money will be going into the economies, there is a lot of uncertainty how the recovery is going to play out. It's always a traditional hedge for investors. I think to counterbalance the potential for inflation over the few years, gold is going to hold steady. But I think what is important for us to remember is that an $1,800 or even a $1,700 gold price is actually very good. So we're in a very emotive industry, and investment is quite emotive. So we were at over $2,000, so investors flock to the market. So when we're at $1,800 or $1,820 gold price, it doesn't look as bright. But the fact of the matter is, this is a very, very good gold price, and it's the sort of gold price which supports good projects, which is ultimately what we really need.
Fantastic. Thank you for your insights. And it's exciting to speak to you now after the results of your rock sampling in Bulgaria with some gold and silver prospects there. We're looking forward to hearing more about that soon. So Raiden recently acquired a highly prospective portfolio of gold and nickel projects in the Pilbara region of Western Australia. And what are the company's exploration plans for these projects, please?
You know, we're going to be aggressive ultimately. So since we've acquired the portfolio, I think you would have seen recently what we've done is we've consolidated our interest in within the whole portfolio. We now have 100% exposure to the entire portfolio, where we bought out the remaining 25%, and that's I think you know, a signal to the market that we really like these projects. We really believe in these projects. We want the upside exposure from the projects. So initial work focused around evaluation of historical data. This is a big ground package. It's over 800 square kilometers. So there's a lot of historical data. We've been compiling that. We've been reviewing, making our exploration plans. So we've recently just announced that we're kicking off field work again across 2 of the projects. We've also completed work across the Arrow project as well. So the plans will be to drill as quickly as possible, and most probably that's going to occur over Mount Shoal and the Arrow project, where we're going to be targeting high-grade nickel, copper, palladium mineralization at Mount Shoal, where we have really stunning historical results, and we're going to be following up with that to try and see if there are strike extensions and further areas to evaluate. And at Arrow, again, you know, we've put out some fantastic news flow in terms of targeting work. We have some really good anomalies which were defined both through geochemistry and through geophysics. We have all the right ingredients, and our objective there will be to drill test as quickly as possible. So we have magnetic surveys which have been completed. They're busy being interpreted right now. We'll be integrating that into our targeting work, and hopefully we'll have news from the drill bits in the near term.
Well, best of luck with that. And with the recent research from the IEA, or the International Energy Agency, proving that these metals are going to be in demand seriously, increases of over 700% over the next 20 or so years. So looking forward to hearing or watching more from your space. So you have recently completed a review of historical data, as you've mentioned, for the Pilbara portfolio of projects. Can you update our audience on the findings of this review so far, please?
Yeah, so essentially what we're seeing at, for example, at Mount Shoal, we are, you know, besides the headline numbers which we've put out in terms of the historical drilling, which are very impressive in their own right, what we are seeing are indications that the mineralization may be more prevalent within the entire project area than we have previously anticipated, which is great news, which means more targets, more drilling. At Arrow and Bidari and Yandakajina, where we are targeting gold mineralization, again, we've gone back, we've had a look through all the historical reports, and you know, when you start looking through these historical reports, you start seeing the fact sometimes you can actually end up being a little bit disappointed, because you'll find out that, okay, the area which we thought had the potential actually has been already drill tested, and you know, we've got nothing more to do there. In this, we're seeing historical drilling intercepts which are very encouraging and simply haven't been followed up since then, as is the case, for example, at Yandakajina. So what this means is that we have a baseline of work which immediately allows us to start targeting and potentially have near-term drill targets as well on these projects.
Well, fantastic news coming from your space, and best of luck with your drilling projects in the near future. You're mentioning the Arrow project shares in the Malina Gold province with De Grey Mining's Hemi discovery. Can we expect a similar gold discovery at the Arrow prospect too?
We hope so. that is basically what we are targeting. So what we have is we have all the geological ingredients as well, which seem to be in play for the formation of that spectacular Hemi deposit. We're only approximately 30 kilometers along strike from there. So we have the same geological unit running through our property. We have significant strike lengths defined by geochemical sampling. We have these small volume intrusions, which seem to again play a critical role in the formation of Hemi-like mineralization. And we've gone now and we've done a very, very detailed magnetic survey with the objective of then integrating that data with everything else that we know about our prospects and bring that to a decision to drill very quickly. So I guess in short, yes, we are targeting the same style of mineralization as Hemi.
Thank you for your insights. And as from what you've said, it's a very vast area of land that you are looking at there. So best of luck with your further sampling and study of that area. I'm sure our audience is familiar with the vast potential in the Pilbara. Can you provide us with a brief overview of your European assets as well? I believe in Bulgaria, you've found some great targets there of silver zones, which are actually potentially bigger than suspected. And what is your strategy going forward, please?
Sure. So the company was actually founded off the back of the Western Tethyan assets. And we have in Serbia, that is, and we have since 2018 grown this portfolio into one of the significant portfolios in this part of the world. So the Western Tethyan is one of the great copper porphyry belts and epithermal belts in the world, but due to its basically geographical history here, especially in Eastern Europe, it has remained relatively underexplored in comparison to some of the other major copper gold porphyry belts around the world. For example, in South America, foreign investment entered these countries sometime in the 70s. So we've seen decades and decades of investment and discovery. Here in Eastern Europe, we've only had foreign companies entering into these markets within the last 15 years and serious exploration happening. And that has resulted in some spectacular discoveries, like the 𝐶ukaru Peki discovery here in Serbia, Rio Tinto's discovery as well here in Serbia of one of the biggest lithium deposits in the world. 𝐶ukaru Peki was one of the great discoveries over the last decade, I would say. It's a very high grade deposit and a very, very large porphyry ore body. But the interesting thing is it's basically located about 5 kilometers away from a operating mine and a smelter, which has been in operation for over 100 years. So what this discovery demonstrated is that this belt is still highly, highly prospective and still has the potential to generate world-class discoveries. We just need to start applying modern technology, especially geophysics and geochemistry, and target the non-obvious mineralization, which would have been found to date. So as you mentioned, we are targeting porphyry and epithermal mineralization, primarily porphyry mineralization, copper gold porphyry mineralization. So as you know, I'd like to call them game changers. So we have multiple targets which are defined, have been defined, and we are working up further targets on a number of our projects. And you can see a pretty aggressive approach from us again over the next 6 months, where we hope to see the drill bit turning on multiple projects. You mentioned 𝐕𝐢𝐿. 𝐕𝐲𝐿 is a historical high-grade gold prospect, or target actually. It's got some fantastic gold numbers at surface. It hasn't been drill tested within the core of the target area, so we have an opportunity right now to go into the center of this very high-grade gold prospect and start putting some drill holes down into that. Furthermore, as you mentioned as well, there's a silver target on there, which we initially thought would be a secondary target, but the more work we've put into it, you can see that it's a separate system from the epithermal gold, and it may be significantly larger. The footprint of the anomaly may be significantly larger than what we thought. So we'll be evaluating that one as well, and it will be drill tested in the near future as well, along with the gold prospect.
Fantastic. Well, sounds like you're very well positioned there in Serbia, and a forerunner in the further research to come in the area. Could you please shed some light on Raiden's mid and long-term goals? I know you've touched on it just now, but would you be able to delve a little bit deeper?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, a medium-term strategy or goal, let's say, is to make a discovery, or essentially have another acquisition which will transition the company from an early stage explorer through to either an advanced exploration company, stage company, or potentially even something that will be, in the long term, moving something towards development. And how do we get there? It's just a matter of putting down drill holes into as many prospects as we can, and I think that is the attractive bit for investors, because we have so many prospects on, we have so many targets which will be drill tested. So exciting news flow and the potential for the company to really change in a relatively short amount of time.
Absolutely. Watch this space, and best of luck with all your projects there. Now, Raiden owns a diversified portfolio of minerals projects in the Tier 1 mining jurisdictions, which you've been discussing with us today. Can we expect more acquisitions in future?
When we started in 2018, the markets weren't as favorable to our industry back then, 2019, but we saw it as an opportunity to grow. We started picking up ground strategically. So hence in Eastern Europe, for example, we have ended up being one of the largest landholders here, which does give you a certain strategic advantage as well, allows you to have options in terms of how you finance it, either through partnerships or strategic partnerships or self-finance. And then I guess one has to understand that the best way to de-risk yourself as an exploration company, the highest risk for us is technical risk, and the best way to de-risk is ultimately to just keep building on that pipeline of opportunities and projects, make decisions quickly, drill early, and either walk away or essentially put more money back into the projects, which I think we've been doing very, very effectively, from picking up projects, putting early holes down into the projects, and then into the targets, I beg your pardon, and making a decision whether to invest further. So I think, to answer the question, it's in our DNA as an exploration company to always be, obviously we're focused on our current and very large diversified portfolio, as you said, but we are always on the lookout for new opportunities which we believe may add value to the shareholders.
A brilliant segue to the next question. So how is RDN or Raiden positioned among other mineral exploration and development companies to create shareholder value, please?
Well, I think one thing is as you mentioned, I think in the previous question as well, is diversification. We have a very large ground position in two emerging belts. We have diversity across the commodity space as well. So we have a very good gold position. We have an excellent copper position. We have now a very advanced project in Mount Shoal. We have an advanced nickel project. We have exposure to PGEs, silver. So it's a very diversified portfolio, which will provide investors with I guess the ability to ride multiple waves, if one can say that. As the commodity cycles swing around, one commodities would be more favorable than the other one. So that is one aspect, but I think diversification would be just one element of it. We are aggressive. We plan to drill a lot. We are well financed. So I think we are, well, I'd like to think we are essentially an example of what an exploration company should be doing, which is exploring aggressively, aiming for big targets, swinging for the fence.
Exactly. And I'm sure that the other companies in the region will be looking to you to see what your moves are before they perhaps strategize around you. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to share with our esteemed audience at 𝐾𝐿KINE at all?
Just firstly, thank you for your time and for the interview. And we watch this space. As we said, we think we'll be very, very busy over the following few months, and I think it's an exciting story to follow.
Absolutely, and we look forward to following your results of your active drilling over the next few months. Well, thank you, Dusko. That was a fabulous show. It was lovely chatting to you, and we thank you for your time again. And with that, I'm 𝐊𝐴𝐧𝐻, signing off for today, and watch this space for more. Until then, stay apprised and invest wise with 𝐾𝐿KINE.